Hi, Jonathan Downie, Jeff Allen here, and I saw your tweet on Twitter today. Today's the 2nd of August, 2022, and you made a really interesting tweet that I want to cite here. Actually, two, but I want to get an opinion on it because I think there's some good things in here that to think about and discuss and dialogue about, and debate even, right? So you said that the problem with the conversations we're having about interpreting technologies is precisely that they're conversations about technologies when interpreting is about people. Put people first and we'll understand the tech. And then you made another one about, a little bit earlier, actually, that was, last night or yesterday or today, but then 15 hours ago. So the headset is less valuable than the person wearing it. The platform only exists because of the people on the other end. Booths are empty until interpreters sit in them. Interpretation tech is meaningless without people. And so I think these are some really good things. I think I think we need to think about. This makes me think back to the movie by Charlie Chaplin's movie. Was it the 1930s, maybe 20s or 30s? Was it called Modern Times or Modern Time or something? I can't remember the actual name of it, but it's when he got on an assembly line, right? And they had the robots that were supposed to feed the workers on the assembly line, and the robots were not there to be robots, right? They were there to do a task, to actually feed the person, to help the person get things done, and not take other time so that the person had to sit there and eat while have a lunch break. I mean, that's kind of extreme, right? But actually, translation technologies have been through the same thing. Text translation technologies have been through this whole thing for a long time. I've been dealing with it nearly 30 years here, and 2.5 years will be 30 years. About translation technologies, and it's always been the same thing. There's always been this hype of having technology, and forgetting the people. Then we realized we need to have people in it, and we need to do post editing, and then which I end up doing a lot of, and then I speed it up and I show how we can customize it, make it better, and really customize it. And then we actually, and I always talk about machine assisted. It's always machine assisted, computer assisted, machine assisted, aided and assisted, whatever we're going to call it, right? The machine or the computer is doing it as a tool. It's just a tool to help get things done, just like we do other things with other tools. And like a car is not the thing because it's a car. You got to drive it, and you got to drive it on the road, and you have people in the car that you're moving from one destination to another. The thing about the car is getting from one place to another, right? Some people say, well, it's the experience. Well, yeah, but it's going from one place to another. It's the experience of doing it, right? But whatever, and all the things you have in the car, right? Sure, very good. It's about going from one place to another, and the people driving it, and the safety of the people in the car, and the safety of people on the road, and the safety of the other people who are driving, and the safety of people, and making sure you don't have accidents, right? So it's kind of the same thing, and I think that. So I think that's putting people first, right? It's focusing on what's the task, what is the thing to get done, what do you want to get done, right? And what is necessary to get it done. And I think that's key. So that's putting the people first, right? Because it's always about people doing this stuff, right? The machines are just tools, or computers are just tools, or whatever. The technology is a tool. It's just a tool. It's always getting faster and better, but it's not always helping us fix problems, right? Sometimes it actually creates more problems, creates more bugs, and we have to deal with it. And if we really think about where we are today with technologies, like how close are we to Charlie Chaplin's robots, right? We're kind of a long ways away, right? We're not there. We do have certain robots can get things done, and robotics is kind of really interesting, but it hasn't resolved a lot of problems. Like, we can't really have everybody in self-driving vehicles in the air, right? We can't do this in Star Wars. We can't do Star Wars because we're so far from it, right? And we can't have everybody driving in self-driving vehicles on the street because we'd have so many accidents. It won't happen. We have a few examples of stuff and certain things, but not everywhere, right? We're so far from this. It's still about people, right? And so many things we have to foresee and plan and predict and all that. And people do this while they're driving, right? So we're not replacing things in normal life. We kind of joke at it, but yeah, we got scanners from like the the barcodes and stuff, great, but that's not, you know, the majority of the things in life, right? So sorry, I got some noise here. We get kids here. Some McDonald's on the outside here, and eating. But so that's kind of the first point. The second point, I think, is about selling. And I've got a couple other videos, several of them in about my business tips and stuff about how we're bad at the language industry, the language field is bad at selling, right? Because there's so much focus on price per word, which is not about. That's kind of a fake notion, and sometimes people boil it down to that. And even I can imagine, even in interpreting, you probably have to at certain times to figure out how you can compare the price per word to how much work you do, right? And there are ways to do it, and I can find a lot of ways to convert this and to see, at least to measure. Very easy to do, and to see how it converts. Just take some of your previous recordings and just run it through a speech to text system, and then see how many words you produced, in the system, and then you have it, right? And you have and you just do 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of those and see what's the average, and you get an idea of how much you can produce, right? And you could say how much and based on what you charge, you could just convert it to words and do it. I mean, I've done this before with text. I mean, you can do this. So there are ways to do it, but the whole thing is to provide a solution. And it's not about just words. It's just the way that the translation industry has been focusing on this for too long, and it's one of the single metrics, and that's why people are bad at it, right? They're just bad at selling. Now, other industries sell on solutions, and I sell a lot of solutions, other packages and things on other things, right? And it wasn't about a specific. You sell a package based on what the need is, right? And how much you customize it, how many features there are, and what features you do, and other sets of pricing schemes. And so in other industries, we have other ways to sell things, right? And we need to do this more in the translation and interpretation industry, the language industry overall. We need to do this better and more, and to show how much tasks we're getting, how many different types of scenarios that we're covering, and how much productivity it's providing, or from the experience, all that. And if it comes down to, in the end, is the conferences that you're doing or the events that you're doing, what's the benefit, right? And how is that technology going to make that happen? And how is it going to help people actually get the task done? And to provide a better experience for the users, right? Or the customers, or what do you want to call them, participants. So I think this is some, I've been seeing this for 30 years. I mean, I got into the language technology stuff and language translation technology in 1995, and so we're just about January, so 2.5 years from that, right? And it'll be 30 years. But I did this whole language stuff, including the years before that. Heck, back in 1983, I was teaching, still in high school. I was teaching as a teaching assistant in my last year of high school. So 1983 to 84, right? So that's kind of it's been 30 years, and I think it's really clear. 40 almost, right? Gee, 40 years I've been doing this, and I think this is really important to see. How we can explain what we do. We get better explaining and getting better selling it, okay? And once we do that and do it with other ways we do it in other industries, then it will be a whole lot easier. But so many people are bad at it. And I talked about, see my other video, I talk about getting out of the language visibility rut, right? The language industry visibility rut. I talk about this. I give some ideas how to do that and how we do it in that whole set of videos. And I think that this is, another thing we can do here, I've talked about, in 1999 I gave a talk of this at SE Top Tech, and actually in 2014, October 2014, I gave a talk for the European Commission to a bunch of translators and interpreters in Poland at the Gdańsk, at the University of Gdańsk, for a translation conference sponsored by the European Commission. And I gave things about tools, right? And I said, use the tools that make your thing happen, or just use whatever tool. It doesn't matter. And if your tool is not allowed you get a certain productivity per day, then use a different tool, right? It doesn't